Guys, today we are talking about Kingdom Divided. I'm going to call it Kingdom Divided. But I want to get into not the surface level. I know that right now there's racism, there's politics, and there's a lot of things that's just happening on the surface. But what good is addressing the surface is if the root, right, is never really taking up from the ground, right? I want to say my first experience in division wasn't in the world. It was actually in the church, to be honest. In the church, at school, those type of things. What we don't really see as division can easily be a part of our normal day to day. And as long as the root of things are not really touched on, then you won't really understand how like it plays a part into what is happening on top of the surface. It's crazy, right? In church, for instance, you have three sections. You got the front, that's where the big hitters are. You got the people that know what's going on in the church. They make sure they pray for the altar. They pray for the pastors. They know how the lights are on. They know what's going on inside the building. There's a lot of spiritual gifts in those first three rows. If you're not careful, you just can't come up to the first three rows. You're gonna mess around and get burned. You got the middle section. The middle section understands, hey, the first row is a little too close to the pulpit. We don't got time for that. We coming in to get our word. They're normally inside of the car by the time service is out. They're out of there. Then you got the back. The back is where I spent most of my time growing up. You got the PK kids, you got the misunderstood, you got your backsliders back there, you got a few people from the front that got burned out there in the back hanging out with us. The back is just kind of like the safety net, right? Where we kind of run jokes, but at the same time, I like to call that section the God knows my heart section. And that's just what it is. You go to school, you got those that are, the kids that are considered not to be cool, and then you got the middle class, and then you got the ones that feel like they are the program. Same thing at work. No matter where you go, it's always taking up into sections. The thing is, at the very root of it, when you're in it, you don't really realize that you are a part of the division because it's just the norm. You are brought up into it, a part of the everyday life. And it's easier to target something that is just so broad, like racism and just the division between nationalities, because it's not a part of your everyday life. You're on the outside looking in. Well, let's talk about from this perspective, someone that has been on both sides. I have been in the world, I have been in the church world. We are either gang members or soldiers. You don't really realize that you're gang members. And I want to say the reason why. When you grow up with people and you're around them every single day, we become accustomed to one another. We become accustomed to, all right, I know that when she got her bad days, that's how she is. I know that we're going to make sure that the leader is this way. We set a routine in place, right? Because we just are familiarized with each other. And because of that, when someone else comes in, yeah, we're welcoming, which is where the similarity comes in. But at the same time, we are just kind of still on edge in a sense because we don't know them. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their intentions are. I know this person. I know their good days. I know their bad days. We are a little bit more hesitant with new people coming in. And by doing that in the church world, right, you don't know if you are their destiny helper or they're your destiny helper, because you might be going through something. You might be going through, you're dealing with the spirit of Jezebel in your house, and they're familiar with how to pray down the spirit of Jezebel, right? So they may be able to help you intercede and help you, the body of Christ, that way. But because they didn't look or sounded or they weren't familiar to you, you kind of just pushed them aside. When you go to school, if they don't really look like you, you think that, hey, you know what, this person's a nerd. I'm not really I don't want to mess up my image. I don't want nobody to see me hanging out with a nerd. You may not know that person may be the doctor to save your life in the future, but you pushed them away because they weren't familiar to you, right? That division starts from a very early age before it even gets to where you are seeing it now. Who carries over the racism time after time? The people that lived during those times, a lot of them are no longer here. It is the generations that were brought up afterwards, right, that carry on that mentality, that carry on that upbringing. Do they know that they're bringing up that way? No, they're born into it. They can't help it. Nationalities. People that have never stepped a foot in Bahamas, right, feels a way. People that never felt a step in Haiti feels a certain way. Africa, same thing, right? You have people that could look so much like each other, have resentment just because they were born into thinking a certain way. Maybe this culture is less than, or maybe this person is less than because whatever that they were taught to believe. Not even understanding that we are all literally a part of one body, the body of Christ. So when I looked into, the Bible and just going into my personal time with God, I noticed that when Jesus goes into certain scriptures and when he says certain things 3 times, there's something powerful behind the number three. 3 different times in the Bible, he tells you that a kingdom that is divided cannot stand, that a house divided cannot stand. You know what the difference is between the house of God, the people of God, and the people of the world? The people of God will push away something that does not look familiar to them, right? They'll push away things that doesn't resonate with what they feel like it should look like. The people in the world will take you as you are. They don't care if you broken down, beat up. Hell, I've been to some people places that I've bumped into some people that will take off the clothes off their back and give it to someone. And I'm talking about in the world. Before I would see somebody do that in the church, because in the church they'd be like, "Oh, you know how long it took me to get this? I'm not finna give it up," right? So it's crazy that the world will accept you in any shape or form or fashion. So I began to think about it. Why is that? The enemy is out to steal, kill, and destroy. He understands that everybody was born with a gift. You don't have to look a certain kind of way for God to give you a gift. God has given his children gifts. You are born with it. It's in you. So while the church is, and I want to say the church, so while the people of God are busy trying to make sure that you resemble what they would like you to resemble and walk the way that they want you to walk in order for you to be accepted, the world is telling them, come as you are for real. Not as I want you to be, come as you are. Let me see what gifts God has given you, because we can use it over here. A lot of these witchcraft people, a lot of these people that operate in darkness, they literally have prophetic gifts. And y'all not gonna like that I said that, but they do. It's just not accurate. But the way that they're pulling in your children's children, right? Pulling in seeds and pulling in people, because everybody belongs to somebody, is they're feeding off their hurt. They're feeding off their lack of knowledge. They're feeding off of the rejection of not being accepted. They're telling them the way that you are is all right with me. The way that you come is cool with me, but let me dig a little further in you. So while they're welcoming them in, they're doing what the enemy does, right? Setting them up for failure, setting them up for destruction, giving them false hope. Whereas the church, y'all, I know there's some real heavy hitters that can pray down a storm, but they're only doing it behind closed doors because they can't enter the body of Christ. They can't be themselves around the body of Christ without judgment. I can't let you know that I was abused. I can't let you know that I was facing homelessness. I can't let you know that I was broke. I can't let you. Why? Because the same hand that's going to help me today is going to talk about me tomorrow. The same hand that's praying with me this season is going to tear me down tomorrow. Division. As long as the kingdom is divided, God's kingdom will continue to take the attack that it's taking. And for me, I feel like I'm going to do my part. I'm going to share the good news. I'm going to let you know that God doesn't see things the way that religion puts it. When you get into a relationship with God for yourself, you actually get into the word for yourself. You can go to church and know that the best part of church is not what you have on. Your Sunday's best is not what you're sitting in, but the word that you're about to receive. You will be able to have a foundation that's set, right? Because we talked about the reset. We talked about what is love. We know that we're going to give our God our heart, our mind, our souls. You will be able to go into the body, the house of God, and understand that who I'm putting my heart, my mind, and my soul to belongs to God. And that the things that I've been through, I'm no longer bound by shame. So if somebody walks next to me, if somebody comes in next to me, it don't have to be somebody I'm associated with. It don't have to be somebody I'm comfortable with. It don't even have to be at church. I could be at the workplace. I could be at school. It don't matter where I'm at, right? Because my foundation and who I am is now anchored in what is true. I don't have to be bound by or afraid to speak up, because The destiny helpers, right, are the people that has went through things, that know how to push through some storms and some situations, that know how to pray, that's not afraid to get down, that's not afraid to tell you. Let me tell you something about witchcraft. Witchcraft ain't got nothing on God. They're not afraid. They're not trying to pretend like it doesn't exist. We want to pretend that God exists. We want to pretend that angels exist, but we don't want to pretend that when the devil left heaven, when he was kicked out of heaven, that he didn't leave with 1/3. Where are they? They're here. We want to pretend like they don't exist. And the more that we pretend like they don't exist, the more they continue to grow, the more they continue to pull in our loved ones, the more they continue to tear down the body of Christ. And I believe that the body of Christ has such such power. Sometimes I feel it's a shame to see, how easily we just get caught up in self. But it has such power. But in order for that power to be orchestrated, in order for that power to be able to really take place, really to make a difference, be able to tear down the things that need to be tear down, is if the vision stops within separating those first three rows. Because our children, the ones that's going to carry the future, they're watching they're not listening to what we say, they're watching what we do. They're watching how you will go and pray with them on Sunday. And by the time that you get home, you're on the phone with your favorite person, tearing them down. Now they're saying to themselves, man, if my mom, who believes in God and, pray and go to church like this, will talk so bad about this person, and God forbid they find themselves in that situation, you think that they're going to go to the church and talk about it? You think that they're going to? No. That's why this generation, the generation before my generation, takes all that stuff that they go through and hide it so much. They can't bring it to the forefront. But listen, at the end of the day, we're all human. And I'm not trying to tear down the church. I actually want it to be, I want it to go up. I want to build. But if you don't deal with the root of it, if you don't deal with the actual seeds that are going into the ground, we'll just continue to water generations after generations of the same circle, the same things, and then point at the world and be like, oh, the world is where the division is. The division is between race. The division is between this. The division is between that. No, it's at the surface. Does it exist? 100%. When I walk into a room, do I allow it to intimidate me? No. I'll be the difference. I don't care who's in the room. I'll be the difference. I'm going to walk in as a king kid. I'll set that foundation. I'll plant that seed that God's kingdom is not divided. I pray that you know that you are loved, that you are blessed. In this season, in this very season, that you would continue to walk in your truth, be who God called you to be, sit in a different role, sit with somebody new, pray with somebody new. That doesn't mean don't use your discernment. God is a God that will give you wisdom. But you will stop and see that you will stop see people the way that God sees them. God sees that his children are valuable. He didn't say give me your heart, your mind, your soul. Don't be crazy. But he sees them as his children. See them as a part of the body of Christ. Accept people for their uniqueness, because you never know what God will do with their lives and do with their story as they're transitioning. Don't cast somebody away because you don't know that you can't handle what God is placing in their life. Let that be their story. Your job is not to change them. Your job is to pray with them, to be kind, to be patient, to be understanding, to be who God called you to be, and let God be who he is in their lives.